Welcome to the podcast where we celebrate innovation for a happy planet. I am your host, Abigail Carroll. Today, I'm joined by Mead Krówka from Reef, a marine conservation nonprofit based in Key Largo that connects people directly to ocean protection through hands-on citizen science. From tracking fish populations worldwide to leading efforts against invasive lionfish, Reef is turning everyday ocean lovers into powerful stewards of our reefs. Mead is here to tell us how this work is shaping the future of marine conservation. But let's hear it from Mead. Welcome to the podcast, Mead.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I'm delighted to have you here. You work for Reef, which is an organization based in the Keys. Tell me a little bit about what Reef does.
Reef is a marine conservation nonprofit based here in Key Largo. I started in 1993 with the initial goal of what's called the Volunteer Fish Survey Project to collect data on fish species and abundance all over the world. So we've broken up the world into about 11 different regions where citizen scientists can go out with a slate and a paper and mark down each species and the abundance of that fish species, or in some of our more temperate regions, we do invertebrates and algae, and just get to upload that onto our database, which is now the world's largest database of marine fish species and their abundance. As of recently, we're over 315,000 entries. And all of this is free to access. Anyone can go onto reef.org and find any type of data set that they want to work with from there.
I did it earlier today.
Nice.
I went and looked at Gloucester and it came up with all these different species, including eelgrass and things like that. And I could see the world map divided into zones, and you can home in on really a very specific area. That's incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So that's our flagship program, but we also have a bunch of other programs that we run. Here in the Keys specifically, we have what's called our invasive species program, which focuses on the removal and education of the invasive lionfish here in the Atlantic Basin. We do research down in the Cayman Islands on the Nassau grouper spawning aggregations and monitoring how those have increased over the years. It's a conservation success story working with fishermen, government agencies, and research organizations over 20 years to protect this keystone species. We do a lot of education programs, both here in the Keys. We have school groups. We say we teach K to Gray. So anyone who wants to learn about anything related to our marine ecosystem, we're able to offer education for them, as well as leading trips all over the world as well. So we do field survey trips. So if you're interested in doing one of these or getting into this surveying, you can join us anywhere around the world. We run about 15 trips a year, and we teach the fish that you're going to see out there how to survey, how to upload. It's a really fun experience to have a vacation that counts.
That's really interesting, because I was going to ask you how you manage these citizen scientists. So you get them to go on a training trip, and then after that, they are certified to do local testing, or how does it work?
So the trips are a good way to get a foot in the door if you want to go somewhere on the exotic side. But anyone can submit a survey. As long as one's fish species, you're able to submit that and upload it. The way that we vet our data coming through is there's certain experience levels that you can have. So anyone starts out as a level 1 surveyor, to where, say, you go out 15 species, you submit that online and upload it. That goes through some of our staff who are experts in fish identification. They go down and see an error check to see if there's anything that is outstanding. For example, if you saw a fish that was seen 0.01% of the time, we're going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you have a photo of that? Just to make sure we're getting accurate.
Yeah, of course.
It goes all the way up to a level 5 surveyors, or level 4s and 5s. It's where you have to take a test of, depending on the region, sometimes 100 species and their families with a 95 to 100% accuracy.
In general, how are these citizens going about collecting information? Are they diving? How are they happen to be in the ocean looking at fish?
Yeah, a majority of our citizen science volunteers are divers. So going out on a dive and collecting information, but you can be snorkeling, you can be swimming. You don't have to be a diver
Yeah.
to become a part of Reef. That leads
Yeah.
into one of our programs. It's called Oceans for All, to where we want to introduce this to people who may not have the access to go out there or are not able to be a diver. If you want to go out and snorkel, you can still contribute and collect information.
It seems to me really impactful to engage citizen scientists in your mission. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you think that is helping or what impact that has?
Yeah, so with our mission, we want to explore, discover, make a difference. And with that, we want to engage people of all backgrounds and walks of life to become interested in our oceans. And for example, we have a new center that is free for the public to visit down here in Key Largo, to where it focuses on all of our different aspects, to where we have families visiting the Keys or people coming in who don't know anything about marine conservation or anything about fish species, and coming in, talking with us, learning about it, and then realizing, wow, this is important. We should protect this, because the more people know about something, the more willing they are to protect it.
Where are you in the journey in terms of data collection? You've got this global network now, and you're pulling up information. You said you have 315,000 entries. What's the end game in terms of data collection? When will you feel like, oh, we've got a real grasp on this? Or do you feel like that already?
I feel like it's always ongoing, because
Yeah.
when we're looking at this data, we can go back 20 years and compare that data to what we're seeing today, and we can track any species that have been introduced. For example, the lionfish, when they were introduced, we can see their populations moving and growing. We can track how species are moving. Say if our oceans are warming, we can see what direction these species are going, and then overall inclines or declines of population species. We can see, okay, 15 years ago, Goliath group or Nassau groupers in the Cayman Islands were not abundant, and now they are almost abundant. We can see that population growing. So I think it's a fluid database, to where the more information that we get, the stronger it can be.
Yeah. Are there some trends that are really just very clear to you that listeners might be interested in?
That's a great question. What comes to mind for me is seeing the incline and then balancing out of lionfish in the Caribbean. So we can see this with the data that we collect through our lionfish derby that takes place every year, and we can see how these populations started to rise and grow and go past its carrying capacity, and then with the introduction of learning how to remove and constantly actively removing these, start to balance out to not a sustainable level, but trending towards having it under control.
Okay, I want to get back to that, but tell us a little bit about the lionfish derby, because I know that's one of these, mitigating actions.
Yeah, we host the Florida Keys Lionfish Derby. This is going to be our 17th annual derby. This takes place in the last weekend of April. So it's that Thursday, the 23rd through Sunday, the 26th. This is an opportunity for teams to go out and collect as many lionfish as possible off of our reefs. They are aggressively invasive and can decimate local fish populations. So the more that we remove, the healthier our reefs can become. With these, we have teams of 2 to 4 that go out and collect. We have cash prizes that go out to the fishermen for the largest collected, the smallest live collected, and also the most. And this past year, with 13 teams and 2 days of fishing, we had 1,600 and I think 18 lionfish removed from our reefs.
What kind of population are you looking at down there? You got 1,600 out, but what from what? Do you have any?
That's a good question. When it comes to population density in their native ranges, so that's like the Indo-Pacific for the red lionfish, so I'll focus on that one. It's anywhere from 6 to 20 per hectare. But when we're looking at it here, it could be upwards of over 400 individuals per hectare. That is in it depends on the location. We're seeing that on the reefs where they're regularly removed or where people go to a lot. For example, in here in the Keys, we have our Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. A lot of those sites have divers and snorkelers multiple times a day, 365 days a year. So you're not going to see as many there. But if you go deeper to the locations that aren't dived as often, or even areas that are past recreational dive limits, that's when populations really start to grow.
So what is the consequence of having that kind of density of population of this invasive species? What do they do? What's actually happening?
Yeah, they have been documented to prey on over 170 different species of our native fish. I like to break these into three categories. We have our ecologically important species. So these are like cleaner shrimps, parrotfish that eat the algae off of the corals, those that are important for the ecological functions of the reef. We have our recreationally important fish. So these are the pretty fish, the ornamental reef fish that people travel here to the Keys to go out and see. Without divers and tourists coming down, that is a majority of our economy down here, especially for fishermen. Over 60% of the people that come to the Keys come to go fishing. So if we take those away, it would decimate everything. We also have our commercially important fish. A lot of people who both visit here and around the country love seafood, and we have a very important fisheries population down here. So we've been seeing in stomach samples of these lionfish, juvenile groupers and snappers showing up that have been consumed by these invasive fish.
Yeah. Gee, we know what caused this invasive species, like the lionfish, to take over?
Yeah, so there's a few different reasons as to why they're successful. The first sighting of them was off Dania Beach in 1985, and that was, no, 1986. And that was assumed to be from a aquarium release. So either a home aquarium, we don't know exactly because we can't trace it back to one specific individual or two individuals. But since then, the reason their population has skyrocketed, again, I like to break it into three reasons. One is they can reproduce young and very efficiently. So it only takes two individuals to spawn. They can reach their maturity after about 1 year. And each time that they spawn, which can be every 2 to 4 days, they can release 30 to 50,000 eggs. So it's constantly making more. They are really efficient because they can eat anything that they can fit in the width of their mouth. Their stomachs can expand to over 30 times their original size. So
and they're pretty big fish, right?
So they're on the smaller end. They're not huge. The largest one that we have ever caught in their invasive range is 19 and a half inches. But they can get pretty hefty.
Yeah.
And then they're also venomous. So they don't have any natural predators here, and they do have 18 venomous spines covering their body, which can make it tricky to collect them. Because if you do it right and you get stung, it's not a good time.
That is absolutely crazy to imagine that could be a problem that was started with an aquarium release. That's just, what a wake-up call that is.
Of course. It always comes back to the people.
Okay, so you said the numbers were getting not great, but the rise is slowing. What's the situation now, and how are the reefs reacting and responding?
It depends on the location that you go to. So, for example, I'll talk about our Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary down here. This is a federally protected section of water of our reefs to where regular collection you need special permitting to go spearing for lionfish in there. During our derbies, we do provide those permits.
Okay.
But with regular collections going out, we host some collection and handling workshops throughout the year, and through our derby, we can see drops in the population after those collections. But if we stop going out and removing them, then they'll start to rise up again. So the more education and the more regular collecting that we can do to go out is really important. There's a few restaurants out here as well that serve lionfish on their menus. So getting people to recognize it as a food source. I like to say it's the most sustainable fish you can eat here in the Atlantic, because by removing that, you are saving our native species.
For a blue economy to thrive, people need to use more sustainable products. But which products? And will consumers actually adopt them? Innovators like you are hustling to figure this out. Spark number 9 can tell you if there's demand for your product. Spark markets your product before it's built using online advertising so you launch smarter. Have a big idea? Vet it with Spark before you build. Visit Spark online at www.sparkno9.com or find them on LinkedIn. That makes a lot of sense. And I believe that the skin, there's some people using the skin for fish leathers, which are kind of becoming a little bit in vogue right now. So that's exciting too. It's fun to think that we're not just killing for the sake of killing, but we can actually use these animals to help in other ways.
Yeah, that's a big aspect to the education that I like to push if we're either dealing with a school group or new spearers going out to remove them is it's not this animal's fault that they're invasive, so we want to make sure we treat them with the utmost respect. I like to use every single fish that we remove gets used. So that's either filleted and used as tastings during our events that we have here. We take the non-venomous fins off of them, dry them, and turn that into lionfish jewelry, which is really pretty. We have kits and pre-made jewelry on our website available for purchase. And we keep a majority of the fish as well, and we freeze them and use them for dissections for education. So we go through external and internal anatomy, looking at the stomach content analysis. So every single fish that comes through, we make sure has use.
Amazing. So what are the best method removal to help curtail this population?
Yeah, there's removal is the easiest. Spearfishing is the easiest way to remove them. They like structure, so you can catch them on like regular hook and line. I'm a terrible fisherman that way, so it has not worked for me. But they like structure. They like to be near or inside of the reef. And by spearing, you can get out and target specifically that fish. That way you can ensure there's no bycatch at all. We've tried, and there's been a few organizations that have tried a few different methods of trapping them. With varying success. Since they do like structure, we've learned that they like natural structure better when it is available. But it was a little bit more successful out in the Gulf where it's more sandy.
They'll get to have a heart.
Yeah, so we've tried, like they've been bycatch and lobster traps before. So we thought, we can try that, like a modified lobster trap. But that it increases bycatch possibilities, and spearing is the easiest way to get out and remove. We can also go in netting for them when you want to capture a live individual. There have been, it's also in some areas where you're not allowed to carry a spear. You can carry a net and remove them that way.
So when you have the derby, people are spearfishing, or they're just doing anything?
So when you're spearing for lionfish, you use what's called a pole spear. Another name for that's a Hawaiian sling. So it's basically, it's called a paralyzer tip on the tip, which is a 3-pronged tip on that. That's not one of the actual spear guns. It is something that just uses kinetic energy. It's safer to use. We also use special containment devices, because once you have that fish who is very venomous on a spear, you do not want to touch it, either below or above the water, until you are in a safe, non-moving environment. The containment devices that we use is a company called Zookeeper. They're a big sponsor of our derby. They're a really great organization. We have a talk coming up this next month in January that'll be recorded on our website from the owner of Zookeeper, all about their experiences in lionfish removal. And that is the best way that I've used to store and keep safe when you are working with these venomous animals.
So how did you get involved in this?
So I started with Reef just about 2 years ago now. I studied environmental science and wanted to stay in the marine sciences. And I've been an avid in marine conservation as long as I can remember, and really wanted to get involved in the invasive species project, and it worked out. Working with our team is both a mixture of in-person and remote people, but everyone comes down at least a few times a year, and it's a great organization to get your foot in the door with all aspects of marine conservation.
No, it's amazing. For people who are interested in going to the Derby, what should they do?
Yeah, so you can go to reef.org/derby. That'll
Yep.
take you to our page there. That has everything from the event schedule, how to register. Right now, we have our early bird registration open until March 20th. And that is less of a deposit to put down for registering. It takes 2 to 4 people to form a team. So grab your friends, come on down to the Keys and have some fun here. And it's going to be the April the 23rd. We have our captain's meeting, and then fishing's the 24th and 25th. And it all culminates on the Sunday, the 26th, where we have what's called our Lionfish Derby and Arts Festival. So this is a full festival here in our Reef campus in Key Largo, where we have vendors from other local nonprofits and conservation organizations. We have artists. There's going to be lionfish tastings, live music. The scoring is going to be going through. So we measure every single fish that comes through.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, if you're doing the scoring, you're covered in scales.
Yep.
It's a really fun time to learn more about conservation and doing something that matters directly to our reefs here in Florida.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about tech on this podcast, and I'm just curious because you're doing a lot of data gathering, data analysis, identification of fish and measuring of fish. And I'm just wondering what kind of tech do you guys use to help you with this mission?
Yeah, we're working on a project right now. Our conservation science team is working on what's called the SMILE project. This stands for Size Matters Innovative Length Estimate, to where it is using Olympus TG6 cameras with an Orca laser mounted on them to go out and collect data and photos of the broadside of fish with the laser right in the middle of the broadside of that fish of our fisheries related fishes. So right now we're focusing on our larger groupers, larger snappers, parrotfish, and hogfish. So this is then being collected. We go through and annotate these images, and then these are sent off to AI engineers who are then building a tool that can use that to estimate the length of the fish. So then we can look at the health of the fisheries in the long run. So we're still in the field testing portion of this. We have a bunch of organizations that have collaborated with us on this, such as we have Scripps Oceanography, or Oregon State's NOAA. There's a lot others that if you want to learn more about that, you can visit our website, reef.org/smile. And we're still also trying to the end goal for this is to get it to where it is affordable and able for people to have their own cameras and their own lasers to collect this data and send it in to us.
Amazing. Given what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis, you're in the throes of ocean and climate conservation. Are you optimistic? Are we on the right path?
Yeah, it depends on the issue at hand, I would say. For us, when it comes to collecting all the data that we do, the more, the better. And we are actively engaging more people. We're seeing the concern and the wants of people to become more involved is rising, especially with our new center. People are coming through, learning about this, and then sharing it with people around them. So it's an always growing aspect. With fish populations, again, it depends on the location, but just for example, from our grouper Moon, which is the Nassau groupers in the Cayman Islands, we've seen exponential increase of these spawning aggregations once protections have been put into place, while also working with the government organizations and the fishermen to make sure that there's compromise amongst everyone to where livelihoods aren't impacted. But these spawning aggregations, which are essential for the protection of the species, is protected and is able to keep growing year after year back to those historical levels.
Do you think we'll reach those historical levels, or are we just in a different world right now?
I'd say it's a shifting baseline to where we'll never get back to the original what everything used to look like. For example, with lionfish, we're never going to get rid of them fully. They're always going to be here. It's just keeping it at a sustainable level to where they're not taking over completely.
Yeah. So everybody can thrive. So do you get to go in the water a lot and dive?
A decent amount. I've led a few field survey trips. I just got back from leading one with our citizen science volunteers to the Philippines, which was a really fun time. So we got to go dive and collect data in Anilao. I have about 30 of these lovely fish ID forms to upload
Amazing.
still. And like whenever we get a chance to do education, it is our team leading that education. So we have
Yep.
about half of our teams here in Florida. We have interns and fellows that come to learn everything there is to learn about marine conservation. And they get to grow and lead all of these programs that we're running.
Amazing. People listening who don't have a direct connection with the ocean but are interested and might want to get involved, are there things that you can recommend to them that they could do? Maybe go to the Lionfish Derby, but other actions that they could take that could, either with or without your organization, that could help everybody?
Yeah, with our organization, it's the education that is the big part, and anyone can learn. We have a lot of free resources on our website. We have recorded, they're webinars, we call them fishinars, of different regions, different species of different regions. We have a monthly seminar series called Fish and Friends that is live streamed to our Facebook and YouTube once a month. And anyone in the world can tune in and watch. These are local researchers, members of the community that are involved actively in marine conservation. That and sharing what you learned. So if you go on a deep dive of learning about lionfish and you're really passionate about that, share it with those around you. The more that people know about it, even though you may not be here in Florida and it may not directly impact you, the more people know about it, the more of a call to support there can be.
So through this global network of citizen scientists, you are collecting just huge amounts of data about what's going on in the water. What are the applications? I can see you can identify trends and you can educate yourselves. Are there other people benefiting from this data, and who's using it and how?
Yeah, so all of our data is free for anyone to access, including research organizations. So all of our data, if you are a researcher and you're thinking, hey, I could really use data on surgeonfish in Hawaii, reach out to us. We can send the raw data files of everything that we have collected over the years or whatever question it is you're looking to answer. And these are actively being used in research publications. Our most recent one that just got published is using hydrophone placements, yields of detection and spawning sites about a grouper moon project. This was published here in 2025, and these go back decades of research that is actively using this data.
Wow, that's a huge boon to scientists, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the more that we're able to share it out, the better.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some people listening to this podcast, and hopefully they'll sign up for the Lionfish Derby or inquire as how to become a citizen scientist and help you collect more data.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to me today about what you're doing, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you. It was great experience chatting with you.
Okay, thanks.